here today to do a video on the Quilted bags. And what this bag is, there's 3 different sizes to it. There is a large, a medium, and a small. And so we're going to do the bag, the large size today, and we're going to do it with this fabric right here. So on this pattern, what you're going to need is 2 16-inch pieces, 16 by 16. You'll need 2 of these. You will need 2 strips that are 4 wide by 16. You'll need 2 of these strips. I've got one already pinned on. And you're going to need 1 4 by 6 strip. Now what you're going to do with the strips is that you're going to fold them in half first, and you'll press, and then you're going to open it up and you're going to fold the edges into the center and then fold it over. So you have, it's a lot like bias tape that you would buy. So you're going to do that with the 2 strips, and you'll also do that with the 4 by 6 little piece. You will need a 16-inch zipper that we will be using because we will be applying a zipper in this bag today. So now what I did to get prepared is I took my 16 by 16 and I zigzagged all the way around. Now this would be a great opportunity for you that have a serger. Serge the edges of these, and it will be a really nice finish on the inside. So the first thing that we're going to do is it's a 1/4 inch seam, and because I have the dual feed on my machine, I'm not going to put a walking foot on. But if you don't have dual feed, then make sure that you put a walking foot on, because it'll make it a lot easier for you as you sew. So the very first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take our long strips and we're going to put them at the top edge of our 16 by 16. So I'm going to do that with this one, and I will do that with this one too. So I'm just kind of laying the edge of it right up into the center, or into the fold line. You'll have to excuse my voice today, guys, because I've got a little bit of a cold going, I think. And it's probably more sinus than anything. So I'm just pinning this on. These are great project bags. If you do a lot of counted cross stitch or anything like that, they just really make a nice project bag for you. Okay, need to line this up a little bit better. Once I get that on, the directions tell me to place those on, and then we are going to stitch the accent piece, which these are your accent pieces. We're going to stitch, it tells me to stitch the top stitch right along the edge at the bottom of this. So we'll go ahead and we will do that. Let's see. I think I'm going to put my 1/4 inch foot on right now. Alrighty. So I'm lining up so that the inside edge of my foot is on the edge of the fold. And that seems to work pretty good. And of course it wants me to tell the machine what foot I have on. There we go. And you want to make sure that after you've stitched it, that you have caught it all the way on the back too, so that it's stitched down. So we'll do that to both pieces. And I'll trim off the threads. Okay, so I have these two pieces are done. Now it's telling me to take my zipper. Okay, I'm going to take my zipper, and if you look at the directions, we're going to be using this accent piece right now. And then you're going to, we're going to fold that accent piece in just like we did the accent on the top of the bag. Just fold it once and press it, and then bring in each side into the center and fold it over. Then it says to insert the bottom of the zipper into the accent fabric piece, creating that we just did. So I'm going to put my zipper right in to this piece, and I'm going to just kind of have a little bit of the edge on either side, and I'm going to place that right there. I want to leave the metal closure sticking out so that I can actually see where that is to stitch it. So then I'm going to stitch it down, and you leaving some on either side. Now it's going to look like you've got quite a bit of fabric, and you do. You have plenty to actually probably do all three of these little bags. Okay, once I get that done, you can see where I have stitched it right along the edge of that. And we're going to take, and I'm just going to trim the excess fabric, and I'm going to trim it right along the very edge of that zipper. Just take it off there. And take it off like that. And what that does is it just gives you a nice finish when the bag is all done on your the zipper. Okay. Now it says to open up the zipper, laying it the zipper at the top of your 16-inch piece. So I'm going to lay it at the top here, and I'm going to kind of bring this edge. I found what works the best if I bring this edge that I just sewed on here and bring it in a little bit, about 1/4 of an inch or so, because I don't want, when I sew my side seams together, I don't want to catch this piece. I want it to be kind of just laying right at the top. So I just kind of lay it over there like that. And then I'm going to bring this down, and I'm going to measure. It says to measure your zipper make it 1.5 inches shorter than the 16-inch piece. So I'm going to take this in, and I'm actually, because this zipper isn't quite a 16-inch zipper, I'm not going to take all the way off, but I will probably, I'm going to end up taking off a little bit on here. So I'll just, there's a pin. I'm just going to kind of mark. I think that will be enough. Now, if you have an actually 16-inch zipper, take that 1.5 inches off of it. That gives, what that does is when I take that off, it gives room for these two ends that you're putting on here. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to cut that off. Now what I want to do is I want to make sure to butt my zipper up, because you're going to have to sew across this so that you, when I take my zipper up, I'm not pulling the zipper right off. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to just stitch a straight stitch on that. And butting the teeth up together. And I'm back stitching on that and kind of going forward some more. I'll do that a couple times to really hold that in place. So now if you look, if I can zip that zipper up and it's not going to come off the end. So then what you're going to do is I'm going to put I'm going to do the same thing that I did at the other end, and I'm going to put the tab on. So I have that, and I'm going to trim that right up alongside the zipper. And that looks pretty good too. Okay, so now I have my zippers prepared, ready to put onto my bag. So the first thing that we're going to do after you get this done is to center the zipper on top of the 16-inch part of the top quilted piece with right sides together. So the right side of the zipper to the right side of the bag. And I'm just going to kind of position that, centering it. And I'll unzip that zipper a little bit. And then I'm going to pin. If you look on your zipper, there's like a line that goes right along, kind of in between the teeth, and that is about 1/4 inch. So we can go ahead and we can pin that right to the very edge of the zipper and the top of the bag. Get that one out of the way. Yes, okay. So I'm just going to go ahead and pin that on. And I'm going to use my 1/4 inch foot. Okay. And then I'm going to stitch 1/4 inch all the way down. Now, you might I'm going to use my zipper foot. I think that makes it a little bit easier. This is a zipper foot that has the dual feed, and so I will put that in and engage that. But I'm going to move my needle over to the left, and I'm going to move it over to a -2. And that pretty well, if I lay the edge of my zipper foot on the edge of the zipper, it will pretty well be that 1/4 inch. So let's go ahead and make sure you backstitch. Take that down just a little bit more. And then I'll zip it back up. All right, I'm just going to go and kind of backstack that a little bit better at the end here. Okay, trim up some of those threads. So now I've got the one side of the zipper on, and now what I'm going to do is let's trim those up a little better. I'm going to take and I'm going to fold this edge back to the back of it, and I'm going to go ahead and stitch that down, holding this the kind of that seam. I want it to go into the bag. So we're just going to top stitch that down. Now I want to move my needle over to the right 2 degrees. And I'm just going to go ahead and start sewing. And I'm keeping that seam tucked to the bag, inside of the bag like. And keeping the edge of my zipper foot right on the edge of by the zipper. So it takes just kind of a little finagling to get that so that it lays flat. Because there is some thickness there, so. So you can see that that zipper, it's a little bit in on either side because this is where my seam allowance is going to go. And I don't want the edges of these to be caught in that. All right, so now I'm going to take my second piece, and I'm going to put the right sides together, the right side of the zipper to the right side of the 16-inch by 16-inch piece, and I'm lining up, making sure that I'm lining up my edges on either edge, and then we're going to stitch this down. Again, I'm going to have to take and move my needle over to the left. I've got it at a -2. I'm going to line the edge of my foot with the edge of the fabric. And we'll stitch that down. I just kind of moved the zipper out of the way there. All right, and then once again, I'm going to take this and I'm going to fold that edge back and I'm going to top stitch that down, moving my needle over to the right 2 degrees, to 2. And I'm going to line up the edge of my foot with the edge of the accent piece. So I'm kind of going and pulling that over because remember I want that seam that I just stitched, I want it to go into the bag. Not sure what that was. Oh, dropped my foot. Okay, so now we have our zippers in. See how nice that works out? So now what we're going to do, we've got that. And we've got both the zipper on both sides in. And we're going to go then to the next. It says leaving your zipper open about halfway. This is very important because if you don't leave that zipper open, you're not going to be able, once you sew up the side seams and that, you won't be able to get in there to open up the zipper. So open the zipper up about halfway. And then it says with right sides together, stitch the side seams. About a quarter of an inch. Now, I've got a little bit more than a quarter of an inch on here, on either end. And so I'm just gonna, when I get up to this top, I'm just gonna make that adjustment. So I'm gonna fold them over. And this little thing here, this tab that I put on, I'm gonna fold it kind of in half because what I'm gonna end up doing is stitching right next to that, but I don't want to get this little tab caught in the seam line. So we can go ahead and I will pin right up in this area. All right, so we're gonna stitch, and I'm gonna take my foot off, and I think I'll put my 1/4 inch foot back on. And we'll go in here and tell the machine. Now, if you'll look, when I go to turn this, I'm going to make sure that I'm not caught in there. Oh, let's see here. So you can see that lays, and it's loose right there, and that's fine. So it's not in this part is not into that seam, because what happens is it'll get really thick, and it's hard to turn that, harder than what it was for me even. And so try to do that. Now we're going to do the exact same thing on the other end. I can leave that like that. Okay, and then we'll sew the other side seam. just gonna kind of judge where. Okay. And it's always kind of, I think it's easier to go from the bottom and work up. I've got that little pole folded up and kind of out of the way. And because of that thickness, I mean, you're much better to go a little bit slower right up in there and backstitch it a couple times. Okay. Let's see how we did. You could trim this just a hair and to take it down a little bit. Okay, you see how that lays free? It's not attached in that seam. And that. Okay, so that's, right now, we pretty well have the top of the bag completed. We can, if you look at that, you've got the zipper put in there and everything, and that didn't take us hardly any time. Now remember to open it up, keep it open. We're gonna flip it around again to the right sides together. I'm not gonna flip those back out. I'll just leave them so that they're like they should be on the front. So now it says that make sure you backstitch at the beginning of the end with right sides. Then it says cut a 2.5-inch square out of each bottom corner of the two pieces. Out of down here, I'm going to cut a 2.5-inch square on either side. After I do that, it says with right sides together, sew the bottom. So let's go ahead and let's do a 2.5-inch square. I'm going to go ahead and, let's see, there's 2.5, 2.5, right there. And I'm just going to draw a line. And then I'll go on this side. I can go 2.5, 2.5. Draw a line. So what we're doing here is we're boxing the bottom of the bag. And when you box the bottom of the bag, it stands a little bit nicer for you. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut them. You could use a rotary cutter if you wanted. These are pretty sharp scissors, so I can... So if you look, I've just cut that 2.5-inch square. It's right here. I've just cut that out of the bottom edge. Now, if you're making the medium or the small, it is going to be exactly like this. The construction of it is no different. It's just that it's smaller. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch the bottom edge of this bag. Now you can see why we need to leave this open so that we can get in there once this is all stitched up. Quarter of an inch. Now, if you want to stabilize that a little bit better, you could go ahead and sew across that again and just keep, to give it a little bit more sturdiness. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these holes here and I'm going to kind of flip this. And I'm lining up my side seam with the bottom seam. And I like to... I like to open up the seam because I think it lays nicer. It's not as thick. Bottom seam to side seam, making sure that all the way across here is even and that the fabric, the edges are even. And then I'm going to take it and I'm going to put it in my machine and sew 1/4 of an inch, making sure that I back stitch. Then I'll do the same thing on the other side. Now I like to take and I like to zigzag this edge here. Then I know that it's safe, so I'm going to go ahead and change my foot and put on my zigzag foot. Move this to zigzag. Okay. And I've got that set about at 4.1 as far as the width size, and then 1.50 as far as the length. And I'm just kind of running it over the edge. do the same thing with the other side. Okay. Trim up the seams. And now we can turn the bag right side out. And voila, there you go. There's your bag. Now, what I like to, I do a lot of kind of cross stitch. And so with the different sizes, like the medium one would be great to make that in out of the same fabric and put your threads in it. English paper piecing, I do a lot of that too. These bags and having the 3 different sizes just help you keep yourself organized and everything is right there at one place. And so, you know, enjoy. I think we have kits for these, and give us a call, and hope you enjoy making these. These are fun. These are fast, and they're a fun thing to do. So with that, thank you, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.